Imagine waking up to the sound of 155-mile-per-hour winds ripping your roof apart. Cars floating down the street. Entire cities swallowed by floodwaters in just hours. This isn't a sci-fi movie. This is Typhoon Haifa, a monstrous storm that slammed into southern China in July 2025, flattening neighborhoods, flipping boats, and displacing millions. From shattered skyscrapers in Zhuhai to rural villages buried by landslides, Haifa became one of the most destructive storms Asia has seen in decades. And the worst part, most people never saw it coming. Today, we're taking you inside the chaos, real footage, real voices, and a brutal look at how this Category 4 equivalent storm exposed the limits of modern infrastructure and human survival. This is the story of Typhoon Haifa, when the sky opened up and Asia fought to breathe.
It started with a whisper beneath the earth, a low rumble, soft, distant, like thunder pacing behind a curtain of rain. No alarms, no sirens, just the rising sound of something ancient awakening. Then the mountain cracked open. Without warning, a torrent of rock, mud, and uprooted forest thundered down the slope. Entire hillsides collapsed in one breathless moment. The landslide struck with such fury that it erased everything in its path. A quiet valley village, once peaceful and green, was engulfed in seconds. Homes disappeared beneath waves of debris. Farmlands turned into brown wastelands. Roads, fences, memories, gone. The panic that followed was raw. People ran barefoot through knee-deep mud, clutching children and shouting names. Others stood frozen, unable to comprehend what had just happened. Screams echoed through the hills. Some prayed. Some didn't have time. But the horror didn't end there. This wasn't just a landslide. It was the breaking point of a much larger storm. For days, the region had been pounded by relentless rain. The World Meteorological Organization recently confirmed record-breaking rainfall across vast parts of Asia, with precipitation levels exceeding 500 millimeters in just 48 hours in some areas. Climate scientists warn, these aren't isolated events. They are part of a disturbing pattern of intensified monsoons, destabilized terrain, and warming air holding more moisture than ever before.
Citizens are advised to remain alert as the weather remains unstable in the coming days. Preparedness kits and safety drills are being promoted as part of long-term resilience efforts. The visuals featured in this video are intended to create an atmospheric overview. While some clips are from affected areas, others are used purely for illustrative purposes. This is not an official news broadcast. For accurate and updated information, viewers should consult trusted and verified sources. A powerful tropical system recently swept across parts of East Asia.
What would you say to somebody that hasn't tried therapy before?
Just ask yourself if what you're doing in your life right now is working. If you have peace, if you have good relationships with loved ones, or if you have healthy boundaries, if you're able to put your head on your pillow at night and just fall asleep, if you've got control of your...
In Hong Kong, the storm brought with it unrelenting wind gusts and relentless rainfall. Streets were littered with broken tree branches and scattered debris.
Imagine a world where roads are so hot you can fry eggs on the pavement, where vehicles burst into flames under the midday sun,
For
where
years,
emergency
China's
crews
real
are
estate
racing
sector was the
rooftop to
engine
rooftop.
behind the country's
Try-
miraculous rise. It fueled GDP growth, created millions of jobs, and offered families a symbol of success: home ownership. Developers like Evergrande, Country Garden, and Vank became household names. Local governments sold land to fund infrastructure. Middle-class families invested everything into pre-sale apartments, confident that property values would only go up. Between 2000 and 2020, China built more housing than the United States did.
As someone heats up in China's
As the landslide choked rivers with mud and debris, the floodwaters surged outward. Dams overflowed. Streams turned into ferocious rivers. Bridges collapsed in splinters. Streets drowned under torrents of sludge. And entire communities vanished beneath thick, suffocating layers of mud and water. Families were caught mid-morning, doing ordinary things. Feeding animals, walking to school, frying eggs in kitchens that no longer exist. Some escaped just in time. Others clung to trees or rooftops as currents ripped past them. Many were stranded, waiting in silence, soaked to the bone and shivering in fear.
4.3, offshore British Columbia.
Subduction zone, that's vertical displacement. This could generate a tsunami.
Issue coastal watch. Get Pacific Tsunami Center online.
Are those orcas? I'll never see one this close.
Yeah. They're following the ship. Look, there's a calf with them. This is insane.
I'm authorizing national emergency protocol. Get everyone to safety now.
Is this real? Tsunami!
Attention! Tsunami warning.
Several scaffolding structures collapsed under the force of the wind, raising safety concerns. Public safety officials responded to multiple incidents throughout the city. Emergency crews worked non-stop to clear roads blocked by fallen trees and debris. Temporary shelters were opened to provide refuge to hundreds of affected residents. More than 200 individuals took shelter to stay safe from the harsh conditions. The heavy rain, recorded over a short period, overwhelmed drainage systems in some districts.
Emergency alert. Category 20 super typhoon. Take shelter immediately.
Sorry. Several construction sites remained under review for safety compliance.
Rescue teams faced an unforgiving battle. Roads had vanished. Communication was down. Helicopters became lifelines. Rubber boats pushed through flooded alleys. Emergency workers, volunteers, even neighbors formed human chains to carry children. The elderly, the injured. Tents sprung up on hills. Makeshift clinics were lit by flashlights and fueled by urgency. Aid arrived by air, blankets, biscuits, bottled water. Volunteers cooked over open fires. Strangers gave up their blankets to strangers. Shopkeepers opened their doors to anyone with nothing left. The rain didn't stop. The earth remained unstable. Officials warned of more landslides. Thousands were evacuated overnight. Schools turned into shelters. Hospitals overflowed. UN humanitarian agencies reported severe disruption of food supply routes, and some villages were completely inaccessible for over 72 hours. Yet somehow, in the middle of the destruction, something else broke through. A child pulled from rubble after 30 hours. An elderly couple reunited on a rescue boat. A school teacher leading terrified students through flooded paths, refusing to leave anyone behind. People who had lost everything gave what little they had to those who had even less. According to the United Nations Office for Disaster Risk Reduction, UNDRR, weather-related disasters now displace more than 23 million people each year, and the number is rising. In this valley, we saw that reality up close, but we also saw something else. Courage, resilience, unity. As the water slowly recedes, recovery begins, not just rebuilding homes, but reweaving the fabric of community. Roads are being cleared, power is returning, bit by bit. Families, once torn apart, are finding each other again. The scars, on land and in memory, will last a lifetime. But so will the stories of survival, the stories of ordinary people who stood together against an unstoppable force and refused to give in. This wasn't just a disaster. It was a warning and a reminder. Nature may be louder now, more unpredictable, but the human spirit is louder still.
Typhoon Waifa, the sixth named storm of the 2025 Pacific typhoon season, made landfall on the southern coast of China on Sunday evening, causing significant damage and widespread disruption in major cities such as Hong Kong, Macau, Shenzhen, and Zhuhai. The storm, which intensified to a Category 1 hurricane strength, hit near Taishan City in Guangdong Province around 5:50 p.m. local time, with sustained winds of up to 106 mph, 170 km/h, and gusts exceeding 167 km/h. The storm severely impacted coastal infrastructure, uprooted trees, and triggered flash floods in low-lying areas. Hong Kong issued its highest tropical cyclone warning, signal number 10, for the first time since 2023, as the eye wall of Typhoon Waifa passed just south of the city around midday. The storm delivered more than 110 millimeters of rain within 3 hours, flooding streets and causing extensive damage to scaffolding in urban areas. Over 470 trees were reported down, and at least 26 people sought medical treatment for storm-related injuries. Public transportation came to a halt. With ferry services suspended, due to high sea swells and the express train service to the airport temporarily shut down. Cathay Pacific Airways canceled all flights between 5 a.m. and 6 p.m., while Hong Kong International Airport rescheduled over 400 flights, affecting nearly 80,000 travelers. In Macau, authorities downgraded the typhoon signal from 10 to 8 later in the evening, but continued to warn of flooding in the city's inner harbor. At least 200 flights were canceled at Macau International Airport, and public shelters were set up to accommodate displaced residents. Zhuhai, located near the storm's landfall zone, activated a Level 1 emergency response, the highest alert level in China's 4-tier system. The Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau bridge was closed. An outbound customs clearance was suspended as wind speeds continued to increase.
Literally and emotionally.
现在感觉车子都是，这比为了建设还恐怖。
I can get a brand new roof in SoCal for just $150 per month with 0% financing for 12 months at Baja Roofing.
这里是龙山路隧道，出隧道那个口，里面还有人，有好几个人淹死在里面了。
小孩，你看这人冲跑了，人冲跑。
The situation has been deteriorating rapidly. Local meteorological services have reported record-breaking levels of precipitation, far above seasonal averages. Rainwater has been pouring in without pause, saturating the soil, swelling rivers, and overwhelming reservoirs. The Yujiang and Hongchoi rivers, two of Guangxi's main water arteries, have already surpassed their maximum safe limits. The water has reached the embankments of major cities like Guilin, where central streets, homes, and public buildings are submerged.
这小区完蛋了，都被砸了。杨庄。
A rare and powerful hailstorm took Beijing by surprise late Wednesday afternoon, battering the city with ice and rain. The storm left behind damaged vehicles, flooded streets, and widespread astonishment among residents. The weather shifted suddenly around 4:30 p.m., catching commuters as they were leaving work. What began as a light drizzle quickly escalated into a hailstorm, with ice pellets pounding the streets of central districts. Neighborhoods like Chaoyang, Haidian, and Dongqing were hit the hardest as hailstones up to the size of ping pong balls fell for nearly half an hour. The streets quickly turned slick and chaotic.
Mưa đá dữ quá.
Drivers struggled to navigate through icy conditions, while pedestrians ran for cover under storefronts and bus shelters. Several traffic intersections saw delays due to the buildup of hail and flash flooding. Cars parked in open lots suffered extensive damage, with cracked windshields, dented roofs, and broken side mirrors. Mechanics and repair shops across the city were overwhelmed within hours. Insurance companies urged residents to take photos of their damages and file claims promptly. Some providers even launched emergency response apps to handle the sudden volume of requests. The city's infrastructure also took a hit, with multiple subway entrances temporarily flooding. Drainage systems failed to keep up, leading to water backups in residential and commercial buildings. Emergency crews were dispatched with pumps and vacuums to remove ice and water from key transit points. Local firefighters were also seen clearing blocked gutters and storm drains by hand. In parts of Haidian and Shunyi districts, tree limbs snapped under the weight of accumulated hail. These branches fell onto power lines, causing several localized blackouts into the night. Social media platforms were quickly flooded with photos and videos showing the scale of the damage. One viral clip showed a delivery driver shielding his head with a food container lid as hail pelted down. Beijing's Weather Bureau later classified the storm as a localized convective event. The sudden mix of hot surface air and a cold front triggered fast-moving clouds capable of discharging ice. Though hailstorms do occasionally hit the capital, meteorologists noted that the severity of this one was well above average. Its timing during rush hour added to the citywide disruption.
Are you researching dental implants?
Residents expressed shock at the intensity of the storm, with many calling it the worst they've seen in years. Some compared it to events more common in China's northern provinces. Despite a thunderstorm warning being issued earlier in the day, it lacked specific mention of hail. This left many unprepared, including drivers and shopkeepers with outdoor equipment exposed. City officials acknowledged the need to improve storm forecasting and rapid alerts. Analysts pointed to stormwater drainage as another weak point in Beijing's otherwise modern infrastructure.
On the afternoon of July 19th, a powerful and intense weather event struck several provinces in northern Vietnam, causing widespread damage and tragically claiming lives. Severe thunderstorms, heavy rain, and strong winds battered areas such as Hanoi, Quang Ninh, Lao Cai, and Thanh Nguyen, resulting in fallen trees, broken electric poles, and widespread power outages. The weather also brought an unexpected disaster. A tourist boat capsized in Halong Bay, causing significant loss of life. The storm's effects were widespread, with severe thunderstorms hitting Hanoi, Quang Ninh, and other northern provinces. The intense winds and torrential rain led to infrastructure damage, particularly in Hanoi and Quang Ninh. In Hanoi, trees were uprooted and electric poles were broken, leaving local neighborhoods without power. Similarly, strong winds caused significant damage to residential areas and public infrastructure in Quang Ninh, Lao Cai, and Thanh Nguyen. According to local authorities, many streets were blocked by fallen trees, creating travel disruptions. Meteorologists at the National Center for Hydrometeorological Forecasting explained that the thunderstorms which affected these areas were primarily due to a low-pressure trough passing through the north. These weather conditions led to tornado-like phenomena in certain areas, which, in turn, contributed to the destruction. The tornadoes formed as a result of the intense heat in Hanoi and surrounding regions, which created uneven heating on the ground. As certain areas absorbed heat more readily, updrafts formed, contributing to the formation of tornadoes. These violent whirlwinds caused sharp increases in wind speeds and led to further damage, particularly in residential areas. The most heart-wrenching incident occurred in Halong Bay, where a tourist boat, Wonder Sea, capsized during the storm. The boat was carrying 48 passengers and 5 crew members, all Vietnamese nationals. Many of the passengers were tourists from Hanoi, including several children. The sudden storm, with strong winds and heavy rain, led to the boat being overturned, throwing the passengers into the waters of Halong Bay. Rescue operations were launched immediately, and 11 people were rescued. But unfortunately, 27 bodies were recovered from the wreckage, including 8 children. The capsizing of the Wonder Sea boat has been one of the most tragic maritime accidents in recent years in Vietnam. It serves as a grim reminder of the dangers posed by severe weather conditions in areas like Halong Bay, where many tourists flock to enjoy the natural beauty. Among the survivors was a 14-year-old boy who was found alive after being trapped for 4 hours in the overturned boat hull. The bodies of the victims were recovered near the wreck, and authorities are continuing their search for the remaining missing passengers. Prime Minister Pham Minh Chinh sent his deepest condolences to the families of the victims, and investigations are underway to determine the exact cause of the boat's capsizing. Authorities are also reviewing safety measures and regulations for tourist vessels operating in Halong Bay to prevent future accidents. Starting July 21st, winds along the northern sea of the Back Bow Gulf are expected to increase gradually from level 6 to level 9, with gusts near the storm center reaching level 13. Waves in the affected area will rise to between 2 and 4 meters, with waves near the center potentially reaching 5 meters. The storm is expected to affect ships, ferries, and other maritime activities operating in the area, with high risks of strong winds, tornadoes, and large waves. The storm is predicted to bring heavy rainfall and strong winds to northern and north-central regions of Vietnam, leading to potential flooding, flash floods, and landslides. Coastal areas, especially from Quang Ninh to Dak Lak, have been put on high alert. Local authorities are taking steps to prepare for the storm's landfall, including evacuations, securing vulnerable infrastructure, and issuing warnings to residents. In response to the developing storm, the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development has issued a series of urgent directives to local authorities. These measures include evacuating residents from high-risk areas
beneath red-brown water,
coastal zones and
cars
low-lying
floated like
settlements,
bath toys,
securing sea and river dikes, and ensuring that agricultural areas and industrial zones are protected. Authorities have been tasked with ensuring the safety of critical infrastructure, including telecommunications and power grids, as well as harvesting crops in advance of the storm. In addition to flood preparations, local authorities are focusing on securing floating houses and aquaculture farms. Residents living in areas that are at high risk of flooding or landslides are being advised to evacuate early. Communities near rivers, in particular, are being urged to prepare for possible flash floods. The government is also prioritizing the inspection of reservoirs and small hydroelectric dams to ensure that water levels are regulated. For maritime safety, ships operating in areas identified as dangerous zones are being advised to remain docked. Local governments have also been instructed to prevent vessels from leaving the harbor, especially during the storm's most intense periods. The storm's effects were felt not only on the ground, but also in the skies. Noi Bai International Airport in Hanoi reported flight cancellations and diversions as Typhoon WEA intensified. 9 incoming flights were redirected to other airports, while 3 departing flights were temporarily grounded. The storm caused major disruptions in air travel, especially as winds and turbulence increased. Local infrastructure also suffered significant damage. In Hanoi, several roads were blocked due to fallen trees and broken electric poles, making it difficult for vehicles to pass. In Quang Ninh, hailstorms damaged windows and cars, causing further delays for commuters and tourists alike. The heavy rain and hail in the region created dangerous conditions, particularly for those on the streets or near coastal areas. As Typhoon WEA continues its west-northwestward path, local authorities, emergency response teams, and citizens must remain vigilant. The storm is expected to bring further challenges, including heavy rains, flooding, and winds, all of which can cause significant damage to infrastructure, homes, and agricultural areas. The Vietnamese government is closely monitoring the storm's development and taking all necessary precautions to protect its citizens.
In the flooded town of Gilin, families climbed onto rooftops waving flashlights through the darkness, hoping someone would see them. Entire neighborhoods disappeared beneath red-brown water. Cars floated like bath toys. Electricity phones and roads gone. In Bays, a 50-meter concrete bridge collapsed into a raging river, dragging 2 vehicles with it. Only 1 body was recovered. The others vanished into the flood. Rescue helicopters couldn't reach half the disaster zones due to thick fog and downpours. But local fishermen, farmers, and volunteers formed their own rescue networks, using rowboats, tractors, and even their bare hands to pull people from submerged homes and landslide debris.
但是我不知道这水往哪里排。在红外上班不得。
While cities drowned, the mountains collapsed. In Funing County, 8 homes clinging to a hillside were buried beneath tons of mud and debris. The landslide struck without warning, triggered by relentless rainfall that saturated the soil to its breaking point. Rescue teams raced to the scene. They dug by hand, by shovel, by excavator. Faint cries for help echoed from beneath the rubble, but each passing minute brought more rain, more risk. Time was running out. In Kujing, entire roads vanished under rock and water. Villages were cut off. Emergency crews couldn't get through. People trapped in the hills lit fires on rooftops, hoping someone, anyone, would see their smoke. And still, the earth kept moving. With each tremor, hope thinned.
You'll be...
Overnight boarding. Your pet will stay overnight in your sitter's home and not only be treated like part of the family, but
therapist myself, I know how important it is to be able to have someone that you can talk to about your problems, to bounce ideas off of.